Hey everyone, good morning. I think you may have just received an alert that I have resumed recording for this session. So again, if you're just joining us, my intention is to have this session recorded and then available on the A&M-Commerce SACSCOC webpage for anyone that's not able to join either a face-to-face session, one of the virtual sessions, or who would like to review the information. In the chat box right now is a handout that you would have received a printed copy of it. This was a face-to-face session. If you want to print copies of this, that's great. I definitely encourage you to do that and share them with people in your office or in your division. This resource is also available on the SACSCOC A&M-Commerce webpage, which we'll take a look at the end of this session. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I know that we're all busy this morning coming back to campus. I hope you all had a nice, 4-day weekend, but that everyone was able to stay warm. As we are progressing through this session, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. I do have my chat pulled up right now, so I will try to address them as I'm able to, but my goal for this session is to be able to work through this information in about 20 to 30 minutes, so there will be plenty of time for questions at the end, or if there's anything specific that you would like to review. So thank you all so much for joining me. We are here today covering preparations as a general institution for our SACSCOC on-site peer review visit. And so, you'll see here on the screen that we are part of the class of 2024. That date not only is this 2024 finally, but that actually symbolizes and stands for the year when we will hear back from SACSCOC on our continued affirmation or reaffirmation with them. And so that notice will come in December 2024 at the annual meeting. So a brief overview of some of these important parties and institutions if you are not familiar with SACSCOC or accreditation. SACSCOC is the regional body of accreditation for degree granting institutions in the higher education institutions, in the southern region. And so there's also some international regions that are part of this. SACSCOC supports the peer review process. We are, principle or standard 1 is institutional integrity. So institutional integrity is very important in this process. They look at quality enhancement, continuous improvement, and student learning. So SACSCOC is the regional body that accredits us to offer degrees as a public institution. Accreditation is an actual process as part of SACSCOC. As I mentioned, we are part of the class of 2024. Our SACSCOC liaison is Dr. Ricky Dobbs. And regional accreditation, which is offered through SACSCOC, is the way the federal government ensures compliance with federal laws and mandates for higher education. Additionally, accreditation determines the institution's eligibility to receive federal and state funds and our ability to transfer credits with other schools. It's also incredibly important because our graduating students, they may sometimes matriculate and want to go into programs or other institutions or have requirements or certificates, sit for exams, that type of thing, that require graduation from an accredited institution, of which we are at the moment. So compliance certification, this is what was submitted in September of 2023. This was a very large document that's essentially a research paper over how we are in compliance with these 14 sections, 72 different standards of SACSCOC principles of accreditation. I don't know the exact numbers off the top of my head. It is in the handbook, our A&M-Commerce on-site handbook preparation, but I think we had something like 177,000 pages, over 2,000 pieces of evidence, almost 200,000 words. So it gives you an idea of how large of a substantive production the reaffirmation compliance certification was. So it covered 14 sections with 72 different standards, and those 72 different standards are the principles of accreditation. This was reviewed by our off-site peer reviewers in November of 2023. We received feedback from them in late November 2023, and that's what we are now working on our focus report. So looking at our focus report over here, of those 72 standards, there were 18 that SACSCOC peer reviewers felt we needed to provide more information on, but we were initially found out of compliance with, or in non-compliance with. And so of those 18 standards, they occur in sections 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, and 13. If you would like more information over which specific sections those are, that's also identified in the handbook, which we'll take a look at later. But it essentially covers our academic programming, faculty credentials and qualifications, institutional standards, that type of thing. So this focus report that's being worked on right now is due February 12th. And it's reviewed alongside the original compliance certification that we worked on in September and the focus report by our on-site reviewers prior to the campus visit. And then they will intentionally be working with us to seek more information on these areas. So very briefly, if you're not familiar with SACSCOC reaffirmation, so I touched on this a little bit earlier, but reaffirmation is a process that involves a collective analysis and judgment by our internal constituencies, an informed review by peers external to the institution, and a reasoned decision by the Board of Trustee members of SACSCOC. And so you'll see how involved this is. It's not only our institution, it's not peers external, but it's also the SACSCOC board. And so it's the process of ensuring that member institutions maintain continuous compliance with policies and principles of accreditation from SACSCOC. And that determination of compliance is made by our internal constituencies, those peer reviewers, and then the Board of Trustees. So that's everyone that's involved in this process. When we look at the reaffirmation timeline as a whole, you'll see here September 2023, this is when our compliance certification was submitted. November 2023 is when our offsite peer review occurred. And we're kind of right here. So we're a little bit before that February 2024 when our focus report is due, which we're working on right now along with the QEP report. Following that in March, we will have our on-site peer review. And then in December 2024, as I mentioned, that's when we'll hear from the SACSCOC Board of Trustees. They will conduct and conclude their review and let us know of our continued accreditation status. So very briefly, this information up here comes from the most recent class of 2022 from SACSCOC. So the standards that I listed, you'll see that they very frequently fall within these metrics. So here's section 2, 5, 8, and 13, section 8, 6, and section 8 and 6. And so I share this information to show that this is a common occurrence and we're in good company. The fact that we were found to need to provide additional information in a focus report is very common. It occurs, for almost all institutions. You'll see here that 95% of institutions from class of 2022 had to provide more information on standard 6.2a faculty qualifications. 54% provided more information on standard 5.4 qualified academic officers. So the fact that we are providing more information in a focus report is very standard. And so you'll see here that these issues do typically arise for a lot of the institutions that are part of these peer groups. So we are in good company and we'll be working on that focus report, which is submitted here in the interim. So some important dates, and this information is also available on the webpage and it's in that handout. So don't feel like you need to write these down unless you would like to. But we're looking at our on-site visit occurring March 25th through the 28th. So that would start Monday and end Thursday. So on Monday, our reviewers will fly into Dallas. They'll fly either into DFW or Dallas Left Field and travel to Greenville. We might have some reviewers that arrive early on Saturday or Sunday that will be here to help us in reviewing and looking at our off-campus instructional sites. At the moment, although it's not 100% confirmed, the sites that I believe they're interested in visiting are going to be our A&M-Commerce at Dallas, Rellis, which is out in Bryan, potentially L3 in Greenville, and then our Navarro Corsicana site as well. And so we'll be working with our off-site committee chair and the people that work at those sites and are over those sites to arrange those visits. So whenever they arrive on Monday, this tends to be a travel day. There might be some interviews being requested with faculty, staff, and administrators to kind of start digging into or having some initial work in areas of non-compliance. And then they will, travel back to their hotel in Greenville and stay there for the evening. On Tuesday, they will be back on campus. They will have a QEP presentation that will be conducted by Dr. Eric Branscombe, who is our QEP director. There will be, additional interviews, or these may start off our interviews with faculty, staff, and administrators for lingering issues on assessment credentials, policies, student complaints, faculty qualifications, that type of information. If you are being identified or asked to join the reviewers for an interview, you will, I can say with almost 100% certainty, know that ahead of time. If you are requested last minute or once the reviewers are here on campus, we will do everything that we can to accommodate your schedule and ensure that you and the reviewers have what you need to make that a successful interview. But if we do reach out to you ahead of time, either during, here late January, during February, or early March, to let you know that we are requesting your availability for interviews, please make sure you're available during those times. We will be holding some preparation sessions for people that are going to be identified for interviews or likely to be identified for interviews, so that you'll have some familiarity of the type of questions that will be answered, what this process might look like, and we'll be able to practice a few of those as well. On Wednesday, our reviewers will be back on campus, and so they'll have some more interviews and dig into the QEP again. Reviewers will make their deliberations, have a long working session, and decide on any final recommendations. Wednesday tends to be a very heavy working day for them, but again, there might be some final lingering interviews that we will schedule or be conducting at that time. During those days, there will also be very likely taking a tour of campus. So you might see myself, Dr. Dobbs, Dr. Carrie Klipchak, or another individual working with SACSCOC reaffirmation, walking these group of individuals around. Please don't be alarmed. They just want to see our campus and be able to see our students and our faculty and staff working in amongst, the campus. On Thursday, there will be an exit interview held at the hotel, most likely in the morning, with Dr. Mark Rudin, the executive leadership team, our SACSCOC liaison, and other invitees. So again, if you are being asked to attend the exit interview, you will know that ahead of time, so you don't need to worry about that. And then December 2024, our annual meeting will occur, specifically December 7th through the 10th. And that's when we'll hear the final results of the confirmation of reaccreditation as presented by our SACSCOC Board of Trustees in Austin, Texas at the annual meeting. So all those dates are part of the on-site committee visit. It's going to occur March 25th or the 28th. As I mentioned, our off-campus instructional site reviewers are interested in RELIS, other DFW Metroplex sites. These committee members are generally chancellors and provosts, higher education, administrators, faculty members, or IE staff members from other campuses in our region. So what's really important to keep in mind, and what I really want to iterate and clarify with y'all, is that these peer reviewers are here to, to really help us succeed. So the peer review process in and of itself, though it might be a frightening process or a concerning process, is really here to help people, become stronger, do better, and identify opportunities. And so the same thing is true for our institution undergoing this peer review process. So these are genuinely our peers. They are here to help us, and they want to see us through a successful visit and reaffirmation of our accreditation status. So during these interviews, or if they stop and ask you a question, or if they want to chat with you, again, please don't be alarmed. They're genuinely here to help us and support us, and they just need those informations, or they'll have additional questions to help find us in compliance. So again, a large part of this, they have the reports that we've produced, but a lot of this will be that qualitative information that they'll be collecting. And so they'll be holding interviews with faculty, staff, and students during their time here. Again, if we reach out to you and ask that you're available for those interviews, please mark those visit dates on your calendar and be flexible and readily available. So this is a schedule of the interview preparation sessions. Again, this will be sent to people that we are specifically identifying or that have been identified for interviews. So if you don't hear from me again until March, please don't be alarmed. But I will do my best to stay in communication if we do, want to meet with you for interviews, or if the committee has identified wanting to meet with you for interviews. And so you'll see that there is a mix of virtual and face-to-face interview preparation sessions occurring on different days at different times to try to accommodate everyone's schedule. We will be having 2 different student interview preparation sessions for students that are asked to join for interviews. So if you're a faculty member and we mentioned that, students are being interviewed or something like that, please, work with those schedules, work with that timing, either in the preparation or during the on-site visit to allow those students to attend. We will also be working with our off-campus instructional sites. These are tentative dates here, but close to being set in stone. but to help them kind of work through and prepare for interviews as well. Because whenever our offsite reviewers visit the campus sites, they will want to speak with administrators, faculty, and staff there. And so that information will be available. All right, so very briefly, the quality enhancement plan. Again, this is a large part of what will occur during Tuesday on that visit and the presentation. If you aren't familiar with our quality enhancement plan, there's a few slides that I'll go through here to go over that. Please feel free to reach out to Dr. Eric Branscombe. He is our QEP director and more than happy to answer any questions about it. And then you can also visit the A&M-Commerce QEP webpage as well. And there will be more information about the QEP there. So the quality enhancement plan aligns with standard 7.2 in the principles of accreditation. Every SACSCOC institution is required to develop a quality enhancement plan that identifies key issues emerging from institutional assessment and focuses on learning outcomes and/or the environment supporting student learning and accomplishing the mission of the institution. So our QEP is Foundation for Your Future. You can see our logo down here, and it's identified as the A&M-Commerce QEP. The services, support, coursework, all that type of stuff that comes out of the QEP Foundation for Your Future will support all students, distance education, off-campus instructional sites, online, as well as in traditional modalities here on campus, competency-based education, all that type of stuff. But there will be, likely a focus on first-generation students as far as data collection goes. But again, all services through the QEP will be available to all students. So the QEP Foundation for Your Future focuses on career preparation and career management for our students, and it's conducted in 3 phases. Phase 1 is the foundation. In this phase, the purpose of the goals is to provide students with a solid career foundation to begin college, to move students from I think I wanna to I know I want to help them think about what they want to do with their lives and how to fit in the careers that interest them. Outcomes, assessments, coursework, embedded elements like that will occur in different courses throughout the undergraduate core and general education, career-oriented courses in the major content, and then CID 1300 and 2301, which are university-wide courses primarily that all students take. Assessments will be conducted or familiar through the career development services with Arthur Lumsey. There'll be different assessments, different courses and quizzes that students can take to help them identify career options or find alignment in career options that they're interested in. We're also looking at having career fairs, guest speakers, etc. available as activities during this phase. Phase 2 is framework. And so that's looking at building upon the solid foundation that was established in phase 1 with a framework that provides students with skills, content, and competencies for a successful future. This prepares students for the possibility of a plan B. For instance, if you come in thinking that you want to be a music teacher, for instance, and so you start taking your music classes and love those, but then you start getting into your general education courses and realize maybe I don't want to teach, or this isn't really where I find myself or my passions. This framework phase is set up to help students pivot as needed or identify other career opportunities within their educational experiences. So the overview of the framework phase is looking at refining skills, knowledges, and competencies and broadening students' awareness of career options, in addition to helping them explore new possibilities. So again, the courses, assessments, activities, and outcomes during this time, there will be courses at the mid-level and the major. So again, we're working within our major content courses. There will be assessments offered through our career development division with, again, Arthur Lumsey. So these will be career-oriented key assessments, looking at skills, knowledges, and competencies. We'll start looking at, courses where demonstration of skill occurs, such as internship courses, clinical practicums, etc. And then there will be support services offered, and we're looking at developing or finding a way to offer a career portfolio for students where they would be able to create and embed a series of accomplishments and demonstration of skill in an online portfolio to show employers. So the final phase of the QEP is the capstone. The purpose of this phase is to launch students successfully into their career. So they work through identifying what they think they want to do. They're getting into their major content courses. We've talked about how to pivot, in our career, our life plans. We've looked at preparing for the career, and students are now approaching graduation. So the capstone will occur as our students are approaching graduation, very likely at the senior level. The overview at this phase and the purpose is to synthesize prior knowledge and skill development in a capstone experience and engaging students in job-embedded experiences. So continuing to look at internships, practicums, that type of thing. Assessments here will again, occur within the career support division, as well as outside of that. Activities, we're still looking at career fairs, mock job interviews, Hireline and LinkedIn, and continue to build on or build out that career portfolio for students. Some additional information about the QP is that we're looking at courses in every major so that this will be truly, spread equitably across the campus and involve all of our programs, all of our majors, and all of our faculties. Under consideration is a non-academic certificate offered through the QP that identifies students as being career ready. Other non-curricular activities is looking at the Office of Student Career Preparedness with Arthur Lumsey, who will be offering or supporting this work. Again, our focus group is going to be those first-time, full-time first-gen students. So there's that 2 FT, so first-time, full-time, first-gen students. And then we're also looking at exploring those opportunities for mentorship. So you might have received a survey in fall 2023 asking about your availability or interests in serving as a mentor for first-generation students or students within this QEP. So transitioning out of the QEP and going back to looking at working with our on-site committee. Again, the QEP is a really important element of preparing for those interviews, preparing to speak with and meet with our SACSCOC committee, because they will be asking questions and it is going to be such a large focus and part of what we're doing. So as I mentioned, Standard 1, Section 1 deals with integrity. So it's incredibly important to operate with integrity in all matters related to SACSCOC. If they ask a question, we're just going to act with integrity. We're going to answer that as truthfully as we can. If they're doing interviews or, wanting additional information, again, we're just keeping integrity at the forefront of everything that we do as SACSCOC. As I mentioned several times, a specific group of individuals will be scheduled for interviews, potentially Monday, but very likely Tuesday and Wednesday. During those interviews, I ask that you wear your A&M-Commerce name badge, or if you are working in any of the buildings where our committee is located, or if you're just on campus, please wear your name badge, because if they're interested in speaking with you, it's always just helpful for them to be able to know your name. We ask that you be courteous and helpful, but be cognizant of their time, their work here on campus. They are here to work. They are here to produce this report on our behalf as peer reviewers, so they are on time constraints. If in an interview they're asking questions, please answer only the questions that are asked during your interview. You don't need to extrapolate on those or share unnecessary or unneeded information. They are really just going to want to focus on what they're asking you, because they're digging into certain aspects of experiences here at A&M-Commerce. And then within their interviews, please do not guess or make assumptions. If you don't know the answer to a question, again, that's perfectly fine. You're not going to break a system, I promise. We're not going to be found out of compliance if you don't know the answer. I promise it will be okay. If you don't know, just let them know that you don't know, but that you will pass the question on to Dr. Dobbs or another IE team member, and they will share that information, that answer, with the on-site committee. So our institutional mission is educate, discover, achieve. I'm sure you've seen that, around campus. You might have one of the SACSCOC pins from IE that has our mission on it. You might have a badge or a shirt that says that. But this is one of the items that during an interview you might be asked, specifically, what is your institutional mission? And so if they ask that, it's very simple: educate, discover, achieve, and you can share that with them easily. So again, just a few more pieces on the on-campus interviews. Please keep your schedule as flexible as possible in case you're called to an interview. If you are called to an interview, if they want to meet with you, please bring copies of whatever documents are requested or might be applicable to that conversation, and be prepared to answer their questions. Some of these questions might be hard, but we are here to support you, and that's why we'll be having these preparation sessions, and we're going to do everything we can to support you in that work. The areas that they're most likely to investigate include the QEP. This might be a meeting with various constituents to see how the QEP is going or integrated within our university moving forward. Assessment, pardon me. And so this will be focused primarily on academic program assessment, as well as our general education undergraduate core assessment. And so this might involve possible meetings with program coordinators or those charged with assessment on campus. So i.e. authors, i.e. reviewers, assessment committees, that type of thing. They may also be interested in speaking with us or meeting on lingering compliance issues. So that's going to be that list I shared at the beginning, the section 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, that list. And so that may cover items such as academic assessment, faculty credentials, admissions policy, or academic credit and review. So again, if you don't know the answer to a question, or if they ask you a question that's really outside your wheelhouse or what you're familiar working with, if you don't know the answer, again, it's totally fine to tell them you're not sure, but let us know, either Dr. Dobbs, myself, or another IET member, and we'll be able to get the answer to them or identify someone that is able to answer that question. So for faculty and staff, pardon me, and looking at preparing for the on-site visit, if you teach courses, please, mention or educate your students with the upcoming reaffirmation site visit in the QEP topic. If you want from my office a slide or a handout or something that you can give your students, please feel free to email me and let me know, and I will put together and share something with you. You can also share that handout that I will post in the chat again, or that's available on the SACSCOC webpage with them. For faculty and staff, we ask that you yourselves have a basic understanding of our quality enhancement plan, foundation for your future, know the basic concepts in our mission statement, educate, discover, achieve, as well as our vision and our strategic priorities. And we ask that you review SACSCOC principles pertinent to your area of responsibility. So for a faculty member, for instance, you might relate or review principles related to educational programs, faculty qualifications, or credentials. If you're unsure on those, reach out and I'm more than happy to identify those areas for you. And then please read and review talking points, examples of questions that are included in the handbook. And so again, we'll take a look at the handbook in a few minutes and I'll show you where that's saved on our webpage. For students, or if you're working with students, the information in our request is very similar. Have a basic understanding of the QEP, basic concepts of the mission statement, review those talking points and example questions in the handbook. And again, and we will reiterate this with students, but if you are questioned or interviewed by a site visitor, answer honestly. We do want to act with integrity and everything. If you don't know the answer, you can just say so and ask for time to find out. And we will make sure our students understand that if they don't know the answer to a question, that's fine. Just like I've shared with y'all, you're not going to break a system or anything if you aren't sure and need to find out an answer or pass that along to someone that does know the answer. We want to focus on positive attributes of the university and the strategies that are in place for areas needing improvement. For students, and what we'll cover with them in the preparation is that we do want them to dress nicely, to wear a name tag, leave phone and earbuds in another room or turned off so that both themselves and our peer reviewers will be able to focus on what they're there to do. So again, very briefly, just having talked about the interview preparation, this is the same slide as earlier. These are those, tentatively scheduled interview preparation sessions for faculty, staff, students in our off-campus instructional sites. Some of those available resources that I mentioned produced by A&M-Commerce and by my department is on our SACSCOC reaffirmation webpage. So we have our on-site visit handbook. The slide set that we've gone through here will be available as I'm developing the interviewer training PowerPoint slides. Those will also be available on there. Schedule for interview, reaffirmation schedule, that type of stuff. Additionally, we'll be offering those interview preparation training sessions and then more of these general university informational sessions. So if you either were not able to attend, want to attend again, want to have your division or department attend, there will be other face-to-face and online or virtual sessions. From SACSCOC, they offer several resources. These include the handbook for institutions seeking reaffirmation, the principles of accreditation, and the resource manual. And so the resource manual has not only the language of the principles of accreditation, but really digs into the meaning and the content of those principles and what's involved. The QEP, or Quality Enhancement Plan policy, and then reviewing the QEP, which is a framework for assessment, and it's a rubric that's used by the On-Site Committee to review our QEP. So if you are just interested in how that review might take place or what that might look like, that framework is available on there as well. Just 1 second while I transition to our SACSCOC page. So this is our SACSCOC reaffirmation page. I'm going to put this link in the chat. So if you don't have it bookmarked, although I'm sure you do, everyone I'm sure has our IER resources bookmarked, feel free to add it or at least visit it so it may be easier to locate. But this is our webpage for SACSCOC reaffirmation. It has some basic information of the reaffirmation process, what the process is and why it's necessary. We have a frequently asked questions about the on-site visit and other elements. This includes the dates. And then, as I mentioned, we have here institutional resources. So we have our SACSCOC on-site visit handbook. And so this is a handbook that my team and I put together that will have just some basic information about the on-site visit, reaffirmation by the numbers. So as I said, we had, a little over 177,000 words, and the reaffirmation compliance certification, 467 pages, etc. But this will take you through again the dates, tips for the on-site visit, the framework of the QEP. A little bit further down, here's these talking points and possible questions. So this is very similar to what will be covered in the training sessions, but if you're just interested in the type of questions that might be asked, to the best of our abilities, we've included that information in here, along with other resources. So eventually, once we are familiar with or know our on-site review team, we'll also have their information in this handbook as well. So this information will continue to be updated and changed. We also have the slide set and then that handout that I mentioned that had been in the chat earlier is located on here as well. So I've just put that link back in the chat if you missed or are unable to access that earlier, but it does live here on this webpage. And then again, other information, related to our strategic plan, timeline, etc. So thank you all so much for your time today. This is pretty much what I've got. So let me see, that was about 30 minutes on the dot. If you have questions, please feel free to unmute yourself at this time or put them in the chat. I'll do my best to answer them. Again, this session was recorded, so my intention is to have it available and have it posted on the webpage. But I hope you all have a wonderful Blue and Gold Wednesday, and thank you for your time today. All right, so we have a question in the chat. Let me just, pause the recording.